The older lady is fired. Clean everything up and leave. Carol, the president's daughter, who became the head of the design department, said, "I've been with this company for 40 years and have designed 90% of our flagship products, but she seems unaware of that. So I decided to take action. I'll clean everything up nicely before leaving," I said, and then wiped all my PC data and resigned. As a result, Carol faced an unexpected turn of events. I'm Victoria Simmons, 62 years old. I work in the design department of a stationery manufacturer. I've been here since I was a fresh graduate for 40 years, and I'm still active even after retirement age. I strive not to be outdone by the younger ones. I lost my husband 10 years ago, and my daughter lives alone. It's hard to say this about myself, but I've designed 90% of the company's flagship products. Therefore, I believe I hold significant value to the company. Stationery is wonderful. It's about dreams, designing for writing, drawing, painting, erasing, measuring, making each task functional and enjoyable. These designs cater to everyone from school children to professionals. How long? No one knows, but since I love my job, I joke with the younger employees that I'll keep going until I can no longer stand. One morning, President Kennedy, who I joined the company with, showed up at a meeting. It had been a while since he attended. He brought a woman with him. "Good morning, everyone. It's been half a year since I last saw all of you, hasn't it? Victoria, you're looking well. Kennedy and I joined the company in the same year. He used to be in sales, and we often talked at internal product presentations. Unlike the typical arrogant son of a president, he's sincere and humble. It's been 10 years since he took over from the previous president. Today, I've brought the replacement for the department head who recently left," Kennedy said. He encouraged the woman beside him to greet everyone. She stepped forward and greeted, "Hello, I'm Carol Kennedy. I look forward to dedicating myself to the future growth of our company. Please, let's work well together." Everyone in the department was surprised. No one had expected the president's daughter to be appointed as the head of the department. As you all may know, our company is planning to expand overseas starting this year. We sent Carol to study abroad for a long time for this reason. She will help us create designs that are globally competitive. "Let's all unite in this effort," Kennedy said before leaving in good spirits. Wilson, one of my colleagues, approached me. "Victoria, what do you think about her?" Carol, I mean. I've known Carol since she was a child. We've never spoken, but the president used to bring her to company recreation events. Haven't seen her in a long time, but she's grown into a fine young lady. I think the president wants to make use of her international experience, but whether she understands the design industry is another question. So we'll see how she does, huh? I could sense a hint of disdain for Carol in Wilson's expression. "Wilson, we just need to focus on our responsibilities." "Yes, you're right. I'm sorry." However, as it turned out later, Wilson's intuition was spot on. A month had passed since Carol took charge. We continued as usual, brainstorming new ideas for stationery and designing in front of our computers. "Everyone, I have something to say. Is that okay?" Carol said so and walked to the center of the room. She then started speaking. "We will start developing products for the international market next month, starting with the UK. If things go well, we will establish a base in London and then expand to hub offices in various locations." Wilson's eyes widened. "So as a start, we will develop new products. The ideas and designs will be decided through an internal competition." The strategy was to sell some of our existing products while simultaneously developing new ones, with the release of the new products, both domestically and internationally, set for 6 months later. I had a question. "Carol, is there a specific concept for the product development?" Her face, which had been amiable until then, hardened. The fact that I didn't mention a concept means it's the same as before. "Simmons, you're our most veteran employee, right? I didn't expect such a basic question from someone like you." I was taken aback by her unexpected response. If I had to say, I don't want anything outdated." With a composed face, Carol finished speaking and returned to her desk. The internal competition was held weekly. I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if, like Hollywood movies, American origin stationery could become popular worldwide? I kept searching for new product ideas. What's different from my younger days is that the number of ideas that come to mind decreases with age. However, the quality of each idea has certainly improved. So I wasn't worried even if I didn't come up with ideas every week. But Carol seemed not to tolerate that. In this past month, everyone has worked hard. We've had over 200 ideas, with Wilson contributing 20%. It's not just about quantity, especially since we don't know what the market expects. We need as many ideas as possible, she said, clearly speaking with me in mind. Unfazed, I gave Wilson, who was modestly giving a thumbs up, a secret wink. Well, it can't be helped if nothing comes up. But as professionals, is it acceptable only 5 ideas in a month? Might indicate you've run out of ideas after being in the business for so long. I don't understand that world, but it doesn't seem like you're trying. She looked straight at me without averting her eyes even once. After the meeting, Wilson came to me. "Thanks to you, Victoria. Your way of expanding associations was amazing. Ideas just keep coming, but Carol is too blatant. It's really annoying." It's okay. It's true that not many ideas are coming out, but has she seen your ideas? Just talking numbers here. 1 of yours equals 10 of ours. Does she understand that? That's all right. Maybe the British won't like my ideas. The final judgment is by the users. Another month passed. We narrowed down our ideas and designed about 50 specific products from them. None of my ideas were selected, but about 5 of my designs were nominated. Carol seemed displeased by that. Today, a buyer from the UK, Mr. Lee, will visit us. He's agreed to take over our agency there. We hope to decide today, but at least we want to narrow it down to about 5. Especially the younger ones look forward to it. In the afternoon, Lee and Carol headed to the conference room. They returned after about 3 hours. "Congratulations, Wilson. I think it will be one of your 3 designs." Carol spoke to Wilson with a big smile. He looked surprised. Later, I heard that everyone thought one of my designs would be chosen. "Thank you, but are you sure? Shouldn't it be Victoria's?" "That's fine. Mr. Lee liked it, and so did I." Oh, yes. Thank you very much indeed. We can't match the sensibilities of the younger generation. Simmons. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is." Carol said that with a spiteful look. That might be true. I have no hard feelings about Wilson being chosen. In fact, I'm genuinely happy for him. It's wonderful when my colleague makes their mark in the world. I spoke from the heart. Then Carol's face flushed with anger. "That's so irritating. What's with this saintly act of yours? You can only come up with 4 or 5 ideas a month and still act so high and mighty. Do you think everyone respects you just because you've been here the longest?" Her words were unexpected. I never thought she saw me that way, but at the same time, my anger was ignited. "Excuse me, but how much do you actually know about design? Do you remember the process of selling everyone's ideas and designs? None of the works you favored are left in the final selection. You lack a professional's eye. You don't understand our struggle." At that point, she lost her composure. "Oh dear, to think you'd say such things to me. I'm a manager, you know." She approached me, her eyes bloodshot. "You're done here as of today. The older lady is fired. Clean everything up and leave." I was surprised by her sudden change, but I felt no resistance to her command to leave, though I thought her remark about being an older lady was uncalled for. "I understand. I'll clean everything up nicely before leaving, but I'm worried about what happens next." "What are you talking about?" "Worrying about what happens after you leave? Don't pretend to care. The department will rejuvenate, and the young energy will keep coming. It's all good," she laughed triumphantly, looking as if her anger had subsided. "I'm relieved to hear that. "I'll start right away," I said emotionlessly and began clearing my belongings. There was nothing particularly important to keep or hand over, so I discarded almost everything. I saved my designs on my memory stick, wiped the PC data, yes, erased everything. I also cleared the shared memory on the internet. "Hey, Simmons, don't forget to submit your resignation. It's the rule." Of course, after saying that, I immediately wrote my resignation letter and handed it to her. She remarked, "Wow, that was quick," and took it with a refreshing smile. I tried to appear relieved, but I couldn't tell how she perceived it. Then, until the end of the day, I went around bidding farewell to my colleagues. That night, they hastily organized a farewell party for me. Surprisingly, it turned into a chorus of criticism and complaints about Carol. I became increasingly worried about the future of the design department. The next morning, I woke up to bright sunlight. It seemed I had gotten drunk last night for the first time in many years, so much so that I couldn't remember when last I had felt this way. I had forgotten to close the curtains on the east-facing window and slept through, suffering from a rare hangover. I groaned while heading to the kitchen. I grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge and gulped it down. Then I sat on the living room sofa, feeling blank. My mind was empty, but that was a sensation I hadn't felt since my student days, which strangely made me a bit happy. However, old habits die hard. Despite not feeling hungry, I thought I should make breakfast. "Take it easy, you have all the time now," I said to myself and chuckled. Then I thought of calling my daughter and visiting her. "Right, I should do what I've always wanted to do," I muttered. Just then, my mobile phone rang. It was Kennedy. "Good morning, Mr. Kennedy. What's the matter calling so early?" "It's not about what's the matter, Victoria." "I tried calling you last night, too." "Never mind that. Could you come to the office, please?" "But I resigned as of yesterday." "Just come, please. This is an order. I'll be in my office." "All right, an order. That's not something one says to someone who has resigned yet," I thought. If he's insisting so much, it must be something urgent. I soothed my aching head with hot coffee, gulping it down as it cooled. Then I called a taxi and headed to the office. "Excuse me." I knocked and entered the president's office. "Good morning. Sorry for calling you in so early." Kennedy wanted to hear about what happened yesterday. I explained everything, careful not to exaggerate my words or reactions. "I see. I am very sorry about that." He expressed his deep apology. "The mess my foolish daughter made is my responsibility as her father. It seems I made mistakes in raising her. Victoria, would you consider withdrawing your resignation? We started here together, after all. Please." I had harbored no negative feelings towards him, only gratitude for employing me for a long time. But his words caught me off guard. "President Kennedy, it's not fair using our shared past like that. So will you?" "All right, I'm counting on you." With that, I left, and in the morning, saying that he entered the design department office. I was told to wait in the hallway until called. The door was left open, so I could hear the conversation inside. "Dad, what are you doing here? Did we have a plan?" "Do not call me Dad here." His uncharacteristically stern tone seemed to surprise Carol. "I have a question for you, Carol. What is it?" The two began to speak in a formal tone. "Why did Victoria resign?" "Oh, as for her resignation letter, personal reasons." "Don't lie." Kennedy glared at Carol as he spoke in a low voice. "It's not a lie. She left because of her age." The surrounding staff were all left speechless. "Don't lie. I've heard everything." In that instant, Carol glanced sharply at the employees. Someone spilled the beans and muttered under her breath. Suddenly, Kennedy raised his voice. "Don't make a fool of me." Carol stood up, startled, her eyes wide open. "Victoria." I was called and immediately entered the room. Carol's eyes were so wide open it seemed they might fall out. "Carol, I heard it from Victoria. You don't seem to understand what you did." She seemed to have calmed down a bit. Even so, she took a deep breath before proceeding. "How do I know if her story is true?" Carol collapsed to the floor. Who do you think you are? Don't underestimate the real world. Listen, you don't understand Victoria's value to our company at all. The conversation had turned into one between parent and child. It's not just about how long she has worked, Carol said defiantly. Kennedy was completely exasperated. How dare you? Victoria has been faithfully serving for 40 years, designing 90% of our flagship products. She's the backbone of our company. Without her, the design department would fall apart. She's irreplaceable. You, on the other hand, are easily replaceable. Understand? Carol was at a loss for words, but she bit her lip and glared at Kennedy. Then you should have told me that. How am I supposed to know if no one tells me? She spoke like a petulant child, and laughter could be heard from the staff. Carol glared at them. Seeing that, Kennedy turned towards the staff. Everyone, I am truly sorry. This incident is my responsibility as her father. That's right. I never wanted to be in this department in the first place. Dad is to blame. I thought my blood vessels might burst. You are unbelievably hopeless. Kennedy and Carol both looked surprised, caught off guard. I had made up my mind. Carol, let me be clear. You are not cut out for a managerial role. In fact, you have a fatal flaw as a professional. Your conversation with President Kennedy just now proves it. You may have forgotten, but you called me an older lady, and as I've said before, your judgment in design is non-existent. It's hopeless. Carol was still in shock. I've changed my mind and decided to come back to work for the sake of the president and the design department. I've chosen to cherish my passion, I then said to Kennedy. I'm sorry for my outburst. He shook his head and replied, Not at all, thank you. Carol was biting her lip in frustration again, this time looking down. Then a phone call came. It was for Carol, but after a moment of hesitation, Kennedy answered it. The caller was Lee. Kennedy listened, nodding and showing surprise at times, and eventually said, That's fine. I apologize for the inconvenience. We look forward to continued cooperation. He hung up. It was about the selection of the design. Lee said that although my design was his top choice, he reluctantly went with Wilson's due to Carol's strong insistence and persuasion. He found it hard to discard my design and thus reached out. It seemed that Carol had come to terms with the situation. She finally seemed to surrender. She dropped like a wilting sunflower after Lee's call. Kennedy laid out the conditions to Carol in front of the staff. You will decide your own future. If you want to work in our company, start from the new employee training. Otherwise, you'll be assigned to one of our client companies. Greatly humbled, Carol replied in a faint voice, Yes. After the two left, all the staff gathered around me, expressing their joy. Although it was an unfortunate outcome for Wilson, I told you this is for the best, he said with a smile. Indeed, it seemed like things turned out just as he and everyone else had initially felt about Carol. That experience reminded me of how important intuition is for a designer. Subsequently, our market expansion into the UK went well. This time we targeted teenagers. We found that the sensibilities of American and British teenagers are quite similar. While I don't think it applies to all age groups, it was a revelation. Considering the global use of social media, it's clear that the sharing of sensibilities is happening faster than imagined. So I believe that designs aimed at American consumers could also sell well. At my age, I never thought I'd be doing work with such a worldwide impact. I'm more motivated than ever. Visiting my daughter will have to wait, I guess. It'll be another video call tonight.